Congratulations. So you've got your listing offer accepted, your seller listing offer accepted. So, what do you do next? Well, the first thing you want to do, obviously, it's going to be signed by both parties. And now this is an accepted offer. Quite likely, the very next thing is there's going to be an inspection period, normally somewhere between 5 and 7 days. Now, during this inspection period process, this is where they come in and take a look at the property, and they're going to likely have a qualified professional go through the home. Now, most homes, there's going to be something that they find. Okay. So if they find something within that time period, even if you're saying I'm selling the home as is, quite likely what they're going to do is they'll ask you to, 1, repair them, or 2, either reduce the price or reduce the price in order for them to fix them later at some other time. And sometimes they'll even ask for a home warranty. So you, as an agent, your job is to do whatever's in the best interest of your current home seller. So that may be to reject that offer, or it may be that really does make sense. It's a really good offer, and maybe you can have those things fixed for a very low price. Or maybe they're ready to kind of move forward, and they don't mind making a small reduction to the price to move forward. So again, you might send them a mutual release and say, hey, you can move forward as is, or we can put it back on the market. So again, you're going to have to do whatever's in the best interest of your client. And ultimately, it's their decision. It is your client's decision. If they ask for your professional opinion, you should give it. That's what you get paid for. But remember, it's their decision. Okay? What's best for them. Okay. So let's just say there's a meeting of the minds, and there's going to be a price reduction, or whatever the case is. An addendum should be made stating the changes, and just be very precise with the addendum changes. Now, I'm going to back up just a little bit, because there is a step that goes before this. So the very next step, once the offer is accepted, is the purchase agreement is going to need to be sent to the lender and the title company. The lender and the title company. Okay. Those two. Okay. And if you're offering a home warranty, also the home warranty company. All right. So that needs to be done. Okay. So now let's go back. Maybe there was some negotiations. There was a meeting of the minds, and let's just say there was some electrical problems, right? Okay. So that addendum, it may state something similar to this. It may say, seller to fix this 3 electrical plugs, outlets in living room before closing. Okay. Just something very straight and direct. Now, this is going to be done before closing. So once this is satisfied, maybe it's done in a week or so, then once it's done, you can have them sign off that it's done. You can send another, the addendum back. This has been completed, satisfactory to the buyer's liking or whatever, but they're satisfied with the repairs. Okay, so that's that. Okay, but once you have the addendum created, then it just continues to move forward. So you might be wondering, okay, now this is called the escrow process. Now, once it's in escrow, which means you have an accepted offer and it's went to the title company, there's going to be a few different things that are happening. If they're getting a mortgage, the next step is the home is going to need to be appraised. Okay. So the next question that you should be reaching out, or maybe your transaction coordinator is going to be reaching out to do, is get that appraisal date. Has that been ordered? What's the date? Okay. That's the next milestone here. Okay. So once that the home has been appraised, it's going to either meet the appraisal number, which is good, and you're moving forward, or the home is not going to appraise. Now, if the home doesn't appraise, there are a couple things that can be done. And again, this goes back to negotiating. So, number one, if it doesn't appraise, likely if it doesn't appraise with this appraiser, it may not appraise with another one. However, sometimes there are bad appraisals. But if it doesn't appraise, you can ask for another appraisal, have them do another appraisal because the person was incompetent. Okay. That's if the numbers are really, really off. Okay. Now, the next thing that you could do, and with the FHA, it doesn't matter. Okay. If it's FHA, once it's appraised, that appraisal is going to be there for, I don't remember how long. It's either 30 or 60 days. I'm not sure, but you'll want to check on that. Okay. But if it's conventional, it's actually a little bit stronger. You can probably have another person appraise it and they'll redo it. Okay. And that happens from time to time. We're in Michigan. Sometimes they'll send appraisers from Ohio because it's on the border. If people are busy here and they don't know the area, or they'll just send someone that's just not familiar with the area and they're just overworked, overwhelmed, and they just give the wrong numbers. So, okay. Again, what do? Number one, you can ask for another appraisal. Number two, you can negotiate. So either you can drop the price to the appraisal price, okay? Or you can say, hey, let's meet in the middle. We'll split the difference. Maybe if it was $5,000 off, $2,500 that the person buying will pay, and we'll, pay $2,500. We'll meet in the middle, and then you can still move forward, or whatever the case is. Maybe the buyer just picks up the whole difference. Anyway, you're going to figure out that negotiation of what you want to do exactly to get past that appraisal period if it doesn't appraise. Okay, so once it appraises, the next thing you're going to want to do is that the buyer's going to have to get insurance, homeowners insurance, and things like that. Now, that's something that they should be doing, but sometimes they don't do it, and that'll throw the closing off. So you might want to just check and make sure with the loan officer that that's been, that that they have insurance. If they haven't, remember, like we hold ourselves responsible, right? So if it doesn't close, we can't just say, hey, they didn't do their job. Like, we have to do our job. And most of the times we do their job too. But guess what? We get paid very well to do it. So make sure that the insurance is there. And then you have to really get on the title company, because Sometimes there are things that we don't know. There could be a lien on the property, like a tax lien or anything. Sometimes they put tax liens on properties and it's not even this owner. Maybe it's a person with the same name. You have to really get on the title company to make sure that they are doing their due diligence, and they're keeping up with that. So, sorry about that. So make sure that the title company, ask if they have any problems with the title thus far. How is it coming? Like, stay on it. Don't just wait and hope everything's good, because it may not be. Hey, are we still looking like we're going to be able to close on time? Okay. Same thing. Call the lender. Hey, does it still look like we're going to be able to close on time? Okay. And then the next step is you're going to get those golden words. We have a clear to close. All right. That's like clear for landing, right? It's coming in. So once you hear those words, then it's time to schedule the closing. Okay. The closing has to be scheduled or it won't happen. So it's really simple to schedule the closing. You're going to first reach out to the title company, make sure that they have availability on these days and these prospective times. Okay. Then you're going to call your client, see if they're available, and make sure you let them know it's tentative. Okay. All right. So now we have some tentative days and times. You're going to reach out to the other agent that you're working with and see if this days and times work with them. Okay. And you're going to get a time and date that works for all parties. Okay. That's the meeting of the mind. Once you have that locked in, then you can go ahead, call the title company back and nail down that time. Slots get taken pretty quick, so you want to make sure you get that time. Here's something to know. In Michigan, you can have split title, which means the buyer and the seller may not have to close at the same time. So if your seller works these hours, they don't have to close at the same time. That's something for you to know. Now, what you also need to know that's equally important is the money's coming from the buyer. They're buying the home. So you want them to close first so that it will fund, the money will already be there when you close. So either at the same time or earlier for the buyer, you want that to happen, their signing to happen first, if possible, so that it can fund. And that's a good question to know also, because sometimes if it doesn't fund, it can close in what's called escrow. It's closed in escrow. So the property is still in escrow. It's closed in escrow, which means they can't disperse the funds yet because it hasn't funded. That's not always ideal, although it's not the worst case scenario. But to avoid this, normally the bank has to wire the money. So that's something you can call the title company and check. Hey, have the funds been wired from the lender yet? No. Can you please reach out to the lender and see if they can get those funds wired for our closing at this time? That's pretty important to make sure that everyone gets paid and keys get exchanged. That's another thing. How are the keys going to get exchanged? Well, it depends on what you put on the purchase agreement. Sometimes on the purchase agreement, they'll say that it goes to the seller. To the buyer. And sometimes they'll say it goes to the buyer's agent. So how is that going to happen? And even before that, I'm just going to go back. Is there going to be a final walkthrough? A final walkthrough. Quite often, before the closing, once the closing is scheduled, the buyer's agent will schedule a final walkthrough. That means They just want to walk through and make sure that the home hasn't caught on fire. It's still there. It looks like it looked before. And, that's pretty much it. So they'll just do a final walkthrough beforehand. So that's normally going to happen also before. I normally recommend to do the final walkthrough a few days before, because if there is a problem, you don't want it to hold up the closing. So if that can be scheduled a few days before, if there is a problem, you have time to work it out really quickly and the closing will still happen. Okay. Very important to note these dates. All right. Now, the keys. Back to the keys. You could do something as simple as if everyone's going to be there at the same place, you can exchange the keys there. Simple enough. If not, you can have a lockbox there, and after the closing, you can give them the combination and they can get in that way. Or you can bring the keys to the title company and they can, after the closing, come and fill out paperwork and sign for the keys and pick them up that way. Those are some of the normal ways that we do just to exchange the keys. Okay. And then guess what? It's not over. Here's a bonus tip for you. A bonus tip. This is something you should really do. Your person who just sold the home, your client is going to be super happy, hopefully, because you gave them excellent service. Now, at that point, it will be a good idea to get a video review of your service and ask them a couple questions of how, if they were happy with you, would they recommend you? Just some basic questions. Ask them their story. Who are they? Where are they from? Where was the home located at? Those kind of questions. And then you can use that video later to build credibility when you're working with other sellers. Okay. So just want to roll those out for you. Those are some steps to your closing. All right. Hope you have a successful closing. And until the next time, let's get it.